Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namah sarvebhya manchasinebhya sarvebhya atithibhya अन्येभ्य सर्वेभ्य यत्र उपस्थिताः सन्ति. I would like to tell you two stories. These two stories I intend to present it here just to illustrate what's the problem with our education system. Where are we lacking? The first story is a dialogue between two camels. The baby camel asks the mother camel, "Mom, why do we have big humps on our back?" Then the mother camel says, "My dear child, because we are desert animals and there is no water in the desert, so it serves the purpose of a water storage system. So then we don't have to think about water. It's very much there." Okay, Mom, I understand that. I have a second question. Mom, tell me, why do we have tall legs and rounded hooves? It's again for the same reason, my dear child, the mother replies. Because we are desert animals, this tall leg and rounded hooves, it helps us to walk in the sand, in the desert. I understand, mother. I have one last question. Why do we have thick eyelashes? It's again for the same reason, my child, that it protects our eyes from the sands entering into it. Then the baby camel says, "Mom, now I understand. Because we are desert animals, the hump on the back, the rounded hooves and tall legs, and the thick eyelashes, they help us to remain in the desert. But tell me, mother, one thing I do not understand. What the hell are we doing in the zoo?" Just think, our education system helps us to come out as products. They say, "I'm the product of this organization. I'm the product." So we are no more students. We are no more learners. We are products. Suitable for what? Suitable for the need of the industrial mindset which has created these educational institutes, organizations. So we become product and suitable for a particular need. What about the beautiful things that we have inside? How has it helped to grow from within? I'll tell you another story. There was a woodcutter. He goes to the forest, cuts trees. And one day he was cutting a very small, thin tree, which would have taken just 10 to 15 minutes to fell it down. Surprisingly, another man who was looking at this whole affair, he was stunned to see that this man takes more than 1 hour to fell this tree down. Then he goes near him and sees that he is cutting the tree with a blunt axe. He asks this man, "Why don't you sharpen the axe?" He said, "But where is time? I have to cut trees." This is the answer from the woodcutter. The same way, we all are busy cutting trees with a blunt instrument, and it takes time. This is where Swami Vivekananda, he said, if I had to redo my education, I would not study anything, collect information, but I would develop the power of concentration to the extent that with that power, I can study and collect information at will. What are these instruments that we need to sharpen? Just think about it. Apart from your body and mind, what else you have inside? With what instrument you are learning? What about the power of concentration? What about the power of imagination? The willpower, the thought power, the memory, the creativity? How much time and effort you put in to develop all this? This is where we are lacking. We may be holding a lot of degrees. I have seen people come to me, students come to me for a job, holding 90%, first class first, gold medal, and you ask them certain basic questions. Believe me, I have asked this question to thousands of Sanskrit people. How many letters are there in Sanskrit alphabet? They will start counting. How many letters in English? 26. How many vowels? How many consonants? 5 and 21. Think about your own language. You will start counting. This is the situation in India, and we have more than 700 languages, the richest country linguistically. And what do we do with all these languages? Where is the richness? Go to any remote village. I'm giving you again this example, which I keep quoting anywhere I go. Look at the person who is repairing bicycle. The most illiterate person has not gone to school, has no education. He has to express all the parts of the bicycle in English. Tell me a single language in India which uses a single part of bicycle in its own language. We use cycle, seat cover, mudguard, crank, chain. Everything is in English. 100%. Is this the richness of our being the richest country linguistically? What do we do with all these languages? Which language in India has the potentiality to create its own words? Look at the Japanese people. They are very much advanced technologically, but how much they are relying on English. I don't say anything against English. We need this language to communicate at an international level, at a global level. We must learn it perfectly, but we must not learn it to kill our own culture, our own language. It doesn't mean that we use it as an instrument to kill everything that we have, all the beautiful things that we have. You go to Japan and ask anyone, what is your language? One reply, Japanese. There may be some dialects, variations, but they will say Japanese. Go to Israel, ask them, what is your language? Hebrew. Go to China, ask them, what is your language? Chinese. Come to India, ask, what is your language? You don't get any common answer. Because we are a multilingual country. But there is a common thread in all these languages. A very beautiful dictionary which is brought out by the government of India. It's known as Tatsama Shabda Kosha. The scholars have sat together to collect and edit 1500 words that we all use in our day-to-day life. Those 1500 words, they have compiled in a form. First, they have given the Sanskrit word, and then they have shown in all the 15 languages, these are used same way, with the same meaning, with a little bit of variation in some languages, maybe in the pronunciation, but it's such a beautiful dictionary, but not known to many people. If you have this dictionary and if you learn these 1500 words, which are same, I can go to any part of India with this knowledge and communicate with the people. And study Sanskrit, it becomes easy to understand and use any other languages of India. If you go to the north region, almost all languages, say Oriya or Bengali or Hindi, Gujarati, Rajasthani, Haryanvi, Punjabi, 70 to 80% of words are in Sanskrit. Come to South, the percentage is little low, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have any communication, any connection. Madras University has published a dictionary, Tamil dictionary, where 40% words of that dictionary, the total number of entries, they are pure Sanskrit words. So, another thing which I want to point out, it doesn't matter whether how much time and effort you give for learning Sanskrit. If every part of India gives much importance to their own mother tongue, then also Sanskrit can be respected and survived. Because most of the words that we are using, they are there in the regional languages also. It is through the regional languages that Sanskrit is living and can live a better life. At the same time, Sanskrit has immense potentiality to generate as many words that as you can to meet the new challenges, new discoveries, new inventions. The principle of naming, creating new words is so systematic and scientific and logical that you don't find in any other language. Not only languages derived from Sanskrit, but in any language of the world. There are new words which are created, but the basic principles on which Sanskrit creates new words, the words are self-explanatory. The words are direct, straightforward, simple. You come in contact with the word, you understand what does it say. The beauty of Sanskrit is that you can take any word, analyze it, the word itself will explain you why it stands for a particular idea or a particular object. Words are self-explanatory. This is where we need to come and study all the scriptures in their original form without basing our knowledge on translation or second-hand information. I don't say that you don't read translation, but you have to be very careful in reading translation. 90% translators do not do justice to the text. With guarantee I say 90% translators do not do justice to the text. Can you believe you have heard the name of Ramakrishna Paramahansa? What does the word Paramahansa mean? Think about it. And how it is translated. Recently I came across a book which is a biography of Ramakrishna Paramahansa. The title of the book is Ramakrishna, the Great Swan. Why do you laugh? There's a reason why you laugh. Because Paramahansa cannot be translated as Great Swan. It's a very literal translation. And this is how any text you touch, the texts are translated literally in this form. Now you understand little bit, so you laugh. There in the scripture you do not understand, you take it granted that whatever the translator says is right. But it's not right. Same way, I found another person who is writing about Shivaji. He says, Shivaji Chhatrapati, the Lord of Umbrella. This is what the translators do, and this is what the translation does at present. I don't say that there are not good translations. There are very good translations, but one has to be very careful in choosing what one does. And when you come in contact, you can have very little knowledge of Sanskrit and then study the Ayurveda in original text or any other scripture, whether Srimad Bhagavad Gita or Devi Mahatmyam or any stotras. See the beauty of it. And the most practical value of learning Sanskrit lies in the fact that how it helps you developing the inner faculties. I have experimented it on myself and few others. At least 10 shlokas or mantras you regularly do. Read a passage from Sanskrit and you can experiment it on yourself before believing in my words. I don't say that whatever I say you believe me. You experiment it. Then you write a mail to me whether it works on you or not. Anyone, it has worked for me. And I don't see any other reason why it will not work for you. The moment you come in contact with this language, It's designed in such a manner that it helps you developing the concentration power, the memory power. Go to any Gurukul. Look at, there was no print media. How all the Vedas, all the Shastras, the whole oral tradition it preserved. The entire credit of preserving this whole knowledge system. Speak of any text, including the 10,500 mantras of Rig Veda. They are all there. You go to any Gurukul, traditional Gurukul, even now, you find that this is there in the memory of the child. And go to any Gurukul and verify the memory level and concentration level of all the students who are studying Sanskrit traditionally in the original form. They're far, far better than the mainstream students. How the language itself is helping us growing from within, strengthening ourselves, creating this sense of being independent, creating this sense of being powerful. It does amazing things to ourselves when we study it in its original form. I can give you hundreds of examples. In our next sessions, I'll show you some of the examples which is so amazing, so amazing. What does Sanskrit do? But it's a matter of fact that we have been neglecting this language for several centuries. I'll quote one thing, maybe one statement of Sri Aurobindo. India was never spiritually poor, because this is the land of spirituality. The core of India is spirituality. Here you don't have to teach anyone spirituality. It is right there in the cells of everyone, in the blood of everyone, in the very consciousness of everyone. And it was never, the whole world looks for spirituality, thinks of spirituality and turns to India. So this country was never poor in spirituality. Was it ever poor materially? No. Go to the history and find out India was the richest country materially. Why the invaders came? What to gain? They looted. They took so much from India. Still India is materially rich. It was never poor materially. Then what was the reason that India ruined? Why we are in this condition? The root cause is not material poverty or spiritual poverty. And Sri Aurobindo points out to a very remarkable, very important aspect. He says, India lost the power of original thinking. For several centuries, we have been imitating the rest of the world, but not being ourselves. We are not Indians. We don't realize the Indianness within us. And when he points out to this power of original thinking, he refers to the whole intuitive knowledge that created the entire knowledge system. We are more relying on the second-hand information, what comes from other parts of the world, and we are relying on the analytic side, not the intuitive side. The intuitive knowledge is lost. We need to revive that. How the intuitive knowledge, intuitive aspect, the intuition can be revived by bringing a change in our attitude, especially in the education field. If the system doesn't offer you anything, you can try it out at an individual level. Start it from home. Start with yourself, with your own children, and see one day how the change is going to come. The intuitive knowledge is lost and we need to revive it. This is the challenge we all have to take, and the young generation has a major role to play in this. If you don't do, then who else? And if we do not do at this point of time, and why have we lost this power of original thinking? Because we have lost contact with all that was original. We are not relying on the original text. We are not looking at to the original inventions, discoveries, the theories, everything that was coming from this whole tradition. But no, we are relying on second-hand information and imitating the rest of the world and not being ourselves. And I'll tell you a story and end my talk. There was a person who was very much knowledgeable about stones. He can look at any stone and say whether what property it has, what value it has. And one day, this man was passing by a forest village and he found that a boy, tribal boy, he is playing with such a precious stone. He was shocked. He says, "My God, it is worth crores of rupees." And then he is just playing with this, doesn't know the value of it. So he asks the boy, "Where from you got this stone?" "No, my father gave it to me." "Can you take me to your father?" "Yes." So he takes him to his father and then he begs, "Can you give this stone to me?" Now the man understands his purpose. He says, "If you give me something in return, then I'll give you." Yeah, yeah, you ask me, "No, what can you give?" "I'll give you 500 rupees. He said, "No, no, 500 will not do. You give me more." "Okay, I'll give you 1000 rupees. He said, "Okay, 1000 rupees will do." So he gives him 1000 rupees, gets the stone, carries it very carefully because tomorrow he is going to be a man of crores. He sells it and then he becomes a man of crores. And he was very excited, he was very careful. And then while he was entering his house, suddenly he found that that stone disappears from his hand. Then he says, "My God, what happens? I'm carrying you with so carefully that where are you disappearing? What's happening?" Then he hears a voice. "You know, I was very, very happy with the boy, with the man in the forest because they were simple and ignorant. They didn't know the value of me and they were treating me like that. But knowing the value of me, you have devalued me, have bought it for 1000 rupees." Friends, the moral of this story is that knowing the value of our tradition, knowing the value of our culture, our language, if we devalue it, one day it may disappear from us. And it becomes extremely difficult again to revive. It's already difficult to revive all the beautiful things which are there. So there is a great responsibilities for all of us to keep this tradition alive. So with this I end my address. Thank you.